Maria Bartholdi joined by Shaheen Soorani to talk about Grixis Control. Now, at the last Pro Tour, you were telling me you kind of went against your better judgment and played mono red. Now you're back to your roots. Control, how does it feel?
Feels great. It feels like I betrayed somebody, betrayed followers, readers, and now this is my redemption. It felt wrong, it felt unnatural, and now we're back. So I'm really excited to play it. I've tried the best deck a few times, but you know what? I think Control's the best deck, so we're going to play Grixis Control today.
All right, let's take a look at what we're starting off with here. 4 copies of Glimmer of Genius, 2 Opt, and 2 Search for Iskanda. You said when you saw this Opt, it was like love at first sight.
Yeah, so Opt for a lot of people is like card advantage, or not card advantage, but like card manipulation, being able to dig. For me, it's mana fixing, because I want to play a third color really badly. I love the blue-black deck from Worlds, but I really think red is necessary, and Opt serves as a way to dig to red mana as well as to other action. The Search for Iskanda, probably one of the most powerful cards in the deck. So when you're searching, you're able to just obviously like flip it very early, getting to the 6th land a lot of times when you flip it on turn 5 or turn 6. So it's a really effective card and it's just super powerful. And then Glimmer is just the all-time good card draw. I mean, you see some play in Modern, so it's a very powerful card draw spell, and always play forward, never leave home with less.
All right, well, you've got to find some way to win the game. Let's take a look at some of your win conditions: Torrential Gearhulk and 2 copies of the Scarab God. All right, I'm putting you on the spot. Which one do you love more?
The Scarab God. The Scarab God is, I would say, there's different levels, power levels in Standard. There always has been. The Controls always have win conditions that are, vary. The Scarab God is leaps and bounds the most powerful control finisher that we've seen in a long time. I didn't see it right away. Gearhulk I saw right away, obviously because we've had experience with Snapcaster Mage, but the Scarab God is an untap end the game for control decks. In Teamer and other energy decks, when you play the Scarab God, it's not as good because we have, in Control and Grixis, you have so much removal. So by the time you play the Scarab God, the graveyard is filled with goodies, and it's more of a defensive play at the beginning and then offensive crash. Gearhulk's a little more fragile. It can get killed before blockers are declared. When it dies, you're kind of left vulnerable sometimes. But the Scarab God, I cannot remember or recall where I have lost when I untap with it.
Wow, incredible. All right, let's take a look at what maybe is your favorite part of playing Control: counter magic.
This is, the way Magic was intended to be played, the way Richard Garfield intended purity to be, to play good old-fashioned tabletop Magic is when you counter all their spells, they can't do anything, right?
Yeah, you're the only one playing any cards here.
I'm the only one sitting at my tabletop too. So. But Censor is a card where if you're on the play, it's a dominant force. It is so good because you're able to keep the board very clean. Teamer and other decks like that don't have any 1-drops. Most decks don't have any 1-drops besides Attune, so you're able just to go, I don't even care what you're playing. I'll censor it, I'll Supreme Will it, I'll scatter, I'll disallow it, and then you just Glimmer at the end of the day, and then start playing your creatures, and it's just a recipe for success. Disallow is a hard counter spell that has fallen in some regards. A lot of players don't like the card anymore because it's less versatile than Supreme Will, which does a very similar effect. But you need some hard counter magic for the mirror for approach decks, because if you don't, you're not favored, but with Disallow, you are favored. And then Essence Scatter, I love the card, but you just can't play too many Sense or Essence Scatter style effects that are very conditional. You need your counters to be either hard or at least dig you to the appropriate answers.
All right, well, if you're not countering something, you're killing something. Let's take a look at your removal here. Fatal Push, Abrade, Harness Lightning, Hour of Devastation, and you called this your Greedy Splash, Vraska's Contempt.
Yes, so we have the greed on each side of the screen here, okay? Fatal Push was the third Abrade for a while, but Cubs can get out of control, and the Fatal Push one of has been so good. Vraska's Contempt is kind of a late game answer to everything. Planeswalkers Resolving beat control decks, so these 3 cards over here are really the heart and soul of control, because control, in a perfect world like we discussed, you counter everything, right? But in the real world, things resolve. Planeswalkers beat you immediately. It could be Tybalt all the way to Elspeth, doesn't matter what it is. Every Planeswalker beats a control deck, so you need to have some answers floating around in there. Harness Lightning is the Doomblade of the format. It's the reason to play Grixis. And this is why this red spell suite right here is the reason why blue-black is much less effective than Grixis, in my opinion, because on the draw, if they get a Cub out and you're not holding one of your 4 Fatal Push and you're playing blue-black, I've seen a Cub with 2 Spell Pierces win the game by itself because blue-black is unable to come back from behind. I'm able to go land, Abrade, get it out of here.
All right, well, let's take a look at your land. Speaking of your mana base, here's some of your non-basic lands. How rough is the mana on this deck?
So last round against red, it was pretty rough. There should be one more Mountain 7 Island. That's going to be on the next page. On this page, the cycle lands have made Grixis mana so good because you're able to have perfect mana if you draw, one cycle land plus an Aether Hub. Being able to cast your spells early on. Energy is pretty easy to come by in the deck with Harness Lightning and Glimmer. And the cycle lands allow you to prevent flooding, which control decks kind of become prone to. That's the real drive, and that's why I can't do mono red anymore. I want to be able to, for other reasons too, but I want to be able to win when I draw a lot of land, being able to gear Hulk and do fun things, and the cycle lands allow you to do that. You can play 26 land or 27 land, and as long as you have enough cycle lands, you're able to go through your deck.
All right, well, let's take a look at the basics. Plus, one Field of Ruin here. What's this guy doing?
This might be a mistake. So I'm very results oriented, and players that have followed me for quite some time know I lose to a search of his content in the mirror, and I'm like, I'm putting a Field of Ruin in my 3-color deck. It was a bad idea. Probably should be another cycle land or maybe another basic. But if blue-black is popular in your area, if control is popular in your area, you need some answer to search for his content because Grixis is notoriously bad at answering enchantments.
So overall, how happy are you with this deck choice for this tournament?
I love it. I have beaten Teamer relentlessly in this tournament. It's, again, because of the reason. On the draw, you're able to handle a Long Tusk Cub, and on the play, it's just perfect magic. You just counter, Glimmer. Against red, you're bad. You just lose. And the sideboard has a bunch of multi-form wonder and silly cards to handle it. I honestly think you're going to need a 12, 11 card sideboard to beat red. I'm at 9 already.
Wow.
So we have to just keep increasing it. It's just so tough to gain life in Grixis. So if your area is very aggro-oriented, Approach is probably the deck for you. If it's Teamer and control filled, I think Grixis is a great call for that tournament.
Well, best of luck to you the rest of the tournament. Shaheen Soorani,
Thank you.
Grixis Control.